ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
How do you feel about JK Rowling? How do you feel about her?
I'm not really a huge fan of hers. I think I grew up right. I was just a little too old for Harry Potter. Like, so I don't have a connection to Harry Potter that everybody else has.
Don't do that, Roger. I was in line at midnight to get my.
That's what I'm saying.
book.
I think.
Well, no. I was a grown ass woman in line.
But there's things I can't speak for you, but I speak for everybody when I say there's something you missed in life because you were just in a different part of your life than the part where that popped off, right? Power Rangers is another one for me. I should be a huge Power Rangers fan. I love big ass robots and I like Kung Fu. For some reason, I can't give you nothing. You know what I mean? My brother could give you everything. Pokemon. I missed Pokemon by like 6 months. And if I was 6 months younger, I feel like I would have been into Pokemon. And just for some reason, and especially because I normally don't read fiction. So the Harry Potter wave missed me because I don't read fiction. So the only entry I would have had was the book, was the movies. And I'm just like, damn, y'all really hyped about these wizards. Cool for y'all. And just moved on. So all that to say, I don't have an attachment to her, but I think her fan base those are some of the coolest nerds I've ever met in my life.
Okay. All right.
The Harry Potter fan base, like online, in real life, these are some of the most nice, inclusive, understanding people I've ever met. Hold on, I'm not done. I'm not done. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm going somewhere. Trust me.
Okay.
And the level of betrayal they felt when this woman came out and said, trans women are not women, they men. Oh boy, I felt bad for them because the message of the books is not that. So like the message of the books is kind of the opposite. It's like watching Transformers and then the main dude that do Transformers come out and be like, I hate cars. Like, whoa, man, the whole thing for like cars. So like, I feel bad for her fans. They've tried to like exist and keep that same like inclusiveness despite her and still be into her work. And it's just hard for them, man. I hate that for them.
Oh my God. Okay. Roderick Morrow is here, the black guy who tips. So I just spoke with Martina Navratilova for my podcast. Karen Hunter is awesome. And she's in the same boat.
Yeah,
JK Rowling. She's the same. Yeah. But so can we dial back a little bit? Just hilarious. Just hilarious. So it's wild to be in the same company as JK Rowling, Just hilarious, and Martina Navratilova. But there's a sentiment among people, and can two things be true? Can you believe biologically that if you have an XX chromosome and an XY chromosome that you are different genders? Can you believe that biologically? And how you identify is your business. And if you want to be called she, fine, we can do that. But can we have like where did this become a thing? And so what I see happening is if you're logically going, all right, XX, XY, and it's not even about whether you can carry a child or not. I'm just saying, just biological. That now you're anti something. Like you're a bigot and you're what do you call it, transphobic and all of this. Now, JK Rowling may be that, and Just Hilarious is just very low vibrational. But I understand from an athletic standpoint, and for somebody like Martina Navratilova, who's played professionally, it's difficult. When I saw Leah Thomas swimming, I thought that was a problem. And I didn't think it was fair for all of the young girls that were competing against Leah Thomas. And I can call Leah Thomas her,
right?
But she should not be in the pool with XX chromosomes. I just feel like, and when can we have that conversation?
So I think two things are happening at the same time. And so one of them is that like you said, people can have an issue because it is a complicated issue. It's not as simple as like, everybody gets to do what they want, blah, blah. I definitely understand that. I'm not a woman, so obviously I can't speak to like women's spaces and how people feel about that. I think where people like JK Rowling get tripped up, where even like your Jess Hilariouses, your Dave Chappelle's kind of get messed up, is trans people are still a marginalized group in our society. Trans women of color die at a higher rate, murdered and killed than anybody else in our country. So like kicking that group kind of while it's down, like to be like, no, we just making jokes. This is just life. People like Jess Hilarious and them kind of lose that high ground because it's like, no, but it's really not just jokes for everybody. It's the same way I would feel it when a comedian makes a George Floyd joke. I actually don't think that shit's funny. And so, I'm not required to think it's funny because you pick on everybody. That don't mean nothing to me. So you have that part of it to where I think that's just your comedian people. The problem with like a JK Rowling to me is the lies. I think if you have a case and it can stand on its own ground, you don't need to make nothing up. So like she'll perpetuate lies. Like there was a woman in the Olympics who won boxing, who is a biological woman. JK Rowling was spreading lies that this woman was a man.
Right.
If you're gonna stand,
the initial stories. So what the initial stories did identify that I think she was Iranian as a trans woman. And so what I think is if you are fighting, because she's, if you're fighting a thing and this is your crusade, then you jump on that. And it's almost like what we're talking about. It's hard to change somebody's mind once they're in that, like, this is what
so that's my point. You have to have your game tighter than anybody. If this is going to be your crusade, you don't get to be wrong sometimes.
Correct.
And JK Rowling never goes back and says, I was wrong.
Right.
And
so she doubles down. She's ridiculous. So I brought her up today because she's a billionaire again. She's the first billionaire author of all time, the richest author. So there's a resurgence. And I think it's some of this, her initial fan base, who are really amazing, wonderful people, as you pointed out, now has shifted to the horrible people who...
I wonder, because the thing I've noticed is that those Harry Potter fans still love that world. Like those, like, because it's not in the word. Like, it's not like R. Kelly, where if you listen to an R. Kelly album, you know what he's singing about. You can go play that Harry Potter video game, which was the #1 selling video game of last year, by the way.
Was it? Yes. There we go. Forbes magazine just put out she's resurgent.
And that's what I always found very odd about JK Rowling's Harry Potter stuff. I don't think she has horrible fans. The right-wing people that hate, like, that are just straight up, we're transphobic. They don't like JK Rowling. JK Rowling's a feminist. JK Rowling to them is a person that's like a lefty.
This is so confusing. Okay.
Yeah. So like they're not the kind of dudes, and I know this from just being in the gaming world, the kind of dudes that are upset about like diversity in games, they don't want to play Harry Potter. They don't even want to pay money for it just to be like, we sticking it to the man. Like, so I think the main thing for her is that hardcore fan base that built up over those books is trying to hang on to the community they built despite her. And so she gonna always make money off of it, because when you play those games, you don't actually have to think about her thoughts about trans women or any of that stuff. So that's why those people do it, to escape. But yeah, they're rebooting the TV show, all that stuff. They're gonna keep watching that stuff because she's not involved and she's not out front and she's not like, not sold off the properties, but the people creating it are creating it despite her. The game developers came out and put comments that was like, no, we stand with trans people. So it's like, clearly people are making stuff despite your best efforts for them to not do that. So that's what I think is happening with her.
Okay. Hogwarts Legacy is the video game. It had a resurgence. It had put her back at Forbes now puts her at $1.2 billion. The 59-year-old Rowling's made the Forbes list again, is in the billionaire space. Smith says that she has some mold spores in her home that could lead to her having these views. I was like, is this true? Is this true? Is this true? Is this really happening?
I think it's so interesting that she got caught up in it, like, because I feel like it was
unnecessary.
An offhanded thing.
It was so unnecessary.
Yeah, like 5 years ago, she just said something offhandedly, and it's like every time somebody was like, "Actually, I disagree," she was like, "No, Like she wrote a whole book at one point
Yes.
where she created a fictional trans woman who kills cisgender women. And so this is why I talk about empathy, right? For me, and I know it's not the same, so please don't call in talking about it's not the same. Motherfucker, I know it's not the same. I'm saying
Why they
it
gotta
is
be MFs though?
sorry. But I'm saying as far as an analogy goes, as a comparison goes, it reminds me of when people made up stuff like the Song of the South, where they made up the black men are rapists and that's what's happening to these white women and stuff. You're making up crimes because you don't have the ground to stand on logically and be like, you know what? Actually, these black people ain't doing nothing wrong. Maybe I'm just mad that they got their own community and I don't like that. That's the real problem. And I think for a lot of this stuff, even when you bring up sports, we know Leah Thomas because there's one that we haven't got to this proportion where we're like all these women are getting short, right? But we hype that one case up so that we can rain down on the rest of the people. Like, hey, you better. I heard there was some trans people won a track meet one time. The reaction is just proportionate, and it empowers some of our worst bigots in America who are in charge right now. It empowers them when we allow it to seem like it's just a conversation or it's in a vacuum. It's not in a vacuum. If it was in a vacuum, we probably could be like, in this one match, is it fair that this person is biologically raised with all the things that are male, and then you take hormones and then you get like, okay, is this now a fair fight? Is this like, how do we measure that? We're not having it in a vacuum. So unfortunately, I think people end up being like, fuck JK Rowling. So
right. No, I think you're spot on, which is why I'm not going hard in the paint. I do feel very strongly if there are women competing. And, I remember Caster Semenya. I thought it was horrific what was happening with Caster Semenya. And Caster didn't know. I watched the whole documentary, and so now your whole life, I mean, we're not even thinking about, these are people.
Yeah.
Leah Thomas, I'm going to put in a different category than Caster Semenya. But, I got to talk with Martina Navratilova about Renee Richards, because I'm old enough to remember when she, a doctor who got a changed it to a woman and was playing tennis. And I was like, thank God she wasn't that good, But she ended up being a coach for Martina Navratilova and admitting that she shouldn't have been doing that. You know what I'm saying? So like but I feel like we don't have conversations. We're having, this is my view, and I'm just going to, engage with people and be hardline. But you're right. There's so much more. And you're absolutely right. When Pose came out, I love that show. And it kind of reignited the notion of how horribly people are treated. We should not be contributing to somebody's
because it's all connected.
Pain.
It's all connected.
It is all. You're right. It is.
You
all
don't get the HIV epidemic. The HIV epidemic is an empathy epidemic, right? It's we don't care about you. I'm not gay. Okay, good luck. That's what happened to you. As if we're not all connected. As if people don't. So anyway, I think
you're so right.
The biggest thing they're trying to do is convince us that trans people are not real people. They're exposable, and there's not enough of us to care about them. And therefore, we should use that logic to say, whatever, that's their life. And then when they come to our ass, we and people go, that's black, that's 13% of the population. That ain't me. And so on until Republicans and conservatives and bigots have run roughshod over the rest of us. So that connection is important symbolically, but also logistically. We need to be connected to each other like that, in my opinion.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back, and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will